Arriving at Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Built into the rock on the island of Gibraltar, this watchpoint is now all but abandoned. Formerly an Overwatch base of operations, Winston is all that remains of only Athena and artificial intelligence for company. It's not clear if Gibraltar is still a British territory in his future, but I like to think it is.
Stop the payload.
This is the path to the first of 4 checkpoints on this escort map. It is incredibly difficult to hold. There is no single line we can draw to base a defense around, as there is so many paths the attacking team can use to penetrate the defenders. During the pro games hosted by the Gosu Gamers during the beta, a lot of teams would give up the first checkpoint so the attacking team wouldn't gain momentum to the second checkpoint. The spawn rooms don't change and a much stronger defense can be established. That said, let's see what we can do. A lot of players, myself included, when playing solo push up to this building here. This is not a good place to hold as you can easily be overwhelmed. Fall back to the height advantage above the checkpoint. You can put a Bastion or Widowmaker on the top here, but they will need protecting from the flank that is directly behind them. A McCree could be pretty good here. On the next level down, put some heroes that love a height advantage like Pharah or Junkrat and Soldier 76. These guys can also act as spotters to let the high ground defenders know if anyone is coming to them. A Mercy is always a good support when you have a split level defense going on, and a Symmetra is another option for defending your Widowmaker or Bastion on top. The tank choice here, along with your other hero choices, should more be based around falling back to checkpoint 2. A Reinhardt is always going to be good, but although Winston has less value here, he can be great on checkpoint 2, so maybe pick him up ready for the next stage. If we now look, we have actually established a defensive line, but it is pretty wide and will be pretty hard to hold for long. Always be prepared to fall back when the line is broken, so a good advantage at checkpoint 2 can be set up.
Escort the payload.
When attacking, you first want to clear out this building directly in front of the spawn before pushing the payload. Once the building is cleared, you shouldn't have too much trouble pushing the payload to the first bend. This is an escort map, so Reinhardt and his portable cover is always good, but the split level nature of defending checkpoints 1 and 2 makes Winston a much better pick, as he can leap on top of the defenders. You may even want 2 monkeys. Sorry, scientists. A DPS that doesn't mind shooting up is always going to be good here, so 76 is a very strong pick, or arguably a Hanzo, but I think 76 offers more. A Tracer or Genji to take advantage of all the different flank options. In fact, you may even want to drop a Scientist to take a D.Va or a second flanker because there is so many paths. Lucio around the payload with a 76 is a lot of healing, and then pick up a Zenyatta for the ranged healing on your flankers and the huge ranged damage. If Zenyatta is struggling to stay alive, you could make sure you use that Reinhardt or try an offensive Widowmaker instead, but she'll want to position a lot further back.
Stop the payload.
Checkpoint 2 is a much more defendable location as there isn't as many flanks and everywhere can be covered without spacing the team out too much. We can draw this line here, which at first appears to cover the whole screen, but there isn't many ways for the enemy to cross it. A Widowmaker here should stop anyone coming over the high ground, and she will have sight all the way to this door at the back. She will of course need some protection as she could be flanked from the path to her left. A 76 is incredible here with the high ground advantage to the floor below and covering Widowmaker's back. McCree could also work well too. His damage does fall off quicker than Soldier, but I don't believe that it's a huge problem here. On the low ground, you're going to want a Winston for the ability to leap around the different levels, and a Mercy for the same reason. We're about equal distance from both teams' spawn rooms, so a Symmetra teleporter can make a big difference. There are some fairly annoying places she can put her turrets that will make fighting on the low ground a lot easier. The Symmetra is not essential here, so you could run a Lucio as his auras should hit everyone, or even another 76 for the extra damage with some healing. The final spot could be open to a second Winston or maybe a Pharah who can also easily move around this area. McCree or Roadhog could also work as a big threat in front of the checkpoint.
Escort the payload.
The key to taking this checkpoint is breaking the high ground. If you haven't realised it yet, I love Winston on this part of Gibraltar. I don't know if it was by design as this is supposedly his home, but 2 of them here on attack is really good.
Did someone say peanut butter?
It gives you a great chance of knocking the high ground defenders off their perch. Lucio and Zenyatta with the pushing power of their ultimates is also really strong. A Symmetra teleporter does have some value, but it's hard to set up good turrets when attacking, although she can spam photon orbs to be annoying. You can drop a scientist for a Reinhardt, as this is still an escort map and he is never bad. Hanzo or Pharah can work too, and even the offensive Widow is good, but she will likely want to take her shots from here to body bag the defending sniper.
Stop the payload.
Checkpoint 3 is harder to defend, as once again there is no good line to hold. This first area is really awkward and scrappy, so I personally think it is better to fall back to here. Now we are here, we have this line to hold. It's not the best, but it will have to do. Winston is no longer sitting in his god tier position, but he isn't necessarily a bad pick. I feel Reinhardt and Roadhog are a very powerful duo. Reinhardt for the shield and Roadhog for the big threat that could also hook enemies off the high ground. Pharah is incredibly strong for the attackers at this stage, so you'll want at least 176 to deal damage on the ground, with a Lucio or Mercy for the healing. Widowmaker doesn't have any amazing places to snipe, but she's not terrible either. Due to the power of attacking Pharah, I think a second 76 on the high ground is better to cover the flanking path over these boxes. With two 76s on the team, we may not need a second support, so you could pick up a third damage dealer like Pharah, McCree, or maybe Junkrat.
Escort the payload.
If you do end up fighting your way through this section of Checkpoint 3, Genji can be very strong. This whole area is this map's cyber agility playground, and Pharah is incredible here. She can get herself on top of the shuttle, which is a fantastic vantage point from which to rain explodey death down on everyone. Other heroes can also get up here, but I feel no one makes use of it quite as well as Pharah does. Whatever your team set up, it shouldn't be too hard to push through to the next section. As we've already established, we're going to have a Pharah on top of the shuttle. If the defenders cannot deal with her, she can pretty much break the defense on her own. Reinhardt is back in his god tier tank seat and should be pushing the cart with a Lucio, a frontline damage dealer like 76 or McCree, and the support of a Zenyatta or a Zarya for the Pharah Wombo combo. A flanker to keep the pressure on the other side of the shuttle for the distraction will work well too. Genji can navigate the area more easily, but there are paths Tracer can use. The Pharah on the shuttle and the flanker on the side should be causing enough problems that the main force can push through the choke with the payload.
Stop the payload.
The final checkpoint is not easily defendable, but we do have the advantage of fighting near enough on top of the spawn, so trading kills can be okay up until the payload reaches this corner. The long sightline is great for a Widowmaker, but ultimately this is not easily held. Because of the flank path I will show you when attacking, we should fall back to the checkpoint itself for the main defense. The enemy can come over these pipes here, so the defensive line we can draw is this. It's very wide and it will be tough to hold, but we can set up a defense with Reinhardt and a 76 to deal with the Pharah that still works very well for the attackers. A Lucio and a Mercy to keep everyone as durable as possible, and then a McCree, Roadhog or Reaper to hold this left flank, and we can bring back the Widow as there is a long sightline through the middle.
Escort the payload.
The key to breaking through the defense here is this flank path. We're going to run through it on Genji, but I think Pharah is going to be a better pick for finishing out the game. This path often allows you to get behind the defenders and take out key targets, forcing them to fall back to the checkpoint. As the attackers, we can then rush the objective with a hyper-aggressive double Winston combo backed up by a Lucio, a Pharah, a frontline damage dealer like 76 or McCree, and a Zenyatta for the ultimate healing, or an offensive Widow for the range damage support. And that about wraps up this look at Watchpoint Gibraltar strategy. As with all the map guides, this is not the only way to play the map, but hopefully these examples have explained the key points of the map and some ideas to get you thinking about your own strategy. Let me know in the comments how you like to play Gibraltar and which heroes you favour. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, take it easy, and I'll see you soon.
Victory. Play of the game.